If there was one thing I could have magically infused in our school system all over the world, it would be this: 80% of your wealth is determined by your thoughts. And I know you've heard versions of this, like your thoughts create your beliefs and your beliefs create your actions. I'm going to take you on a journey today to show you how to shift these three core areas where you have perspectives that have been skewed, that have been, let's say, tampered with just from growing up in certain circumstances, from taking in stuff from mass media. And when you start shifting your perspective from coming from a lacking mentality, a fear mentality, and into a wealth mentality, there is no way that you can't act on that, and then therefore it becomes true, because whatever we believe to be true is, whether it's based in fact or not. So we might as well use it to our advantage. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your relationships, your abundance, and everything in between. We've got to start out with a major celebration. And I want to thank all of you. Shout out my longtime listeners, my loyal listeners, my new listeners. We are top 15 worldwide of all podcasts. There's literally 5 million podcasts, and we're top 15. Like, this show beat out celebrities and shit. I'm absolutely blown away. And it does go along with part 4 today on shifting perspectives in order to invite money and success in your life. I believed this show would be where it's at today and even far beyond where it's at today when I started it on day one. I knew it was going to be something. And it's not because I just have this giant ego. It's not because I had some amazing connections and I knew people. I actually didn't know anyone who was a podcaster. I had people telling me that it was stupid, that you can't make any money on it and you're going to spend a lot of money on it. And my show, I'm a grower, not a shower. My show barely grew for 5 months. All right. And I was like, oh my God, I'm spending money, time, energy. I'm pouring my heart out. How is the show not growing more? But I also knew that I didn't have any connections. I didn't know anyone in the online space. I did not have any built up social media on any other channels. What I did have is that I am a professionally trained newscaster. I went to college for it. I am a former TV journalist for NBC, CBS, and CNN. So I do have a skill set of communicating, of interviewing people, of understanding production quality. But I didn't have any special hookup. I didn't have anyone at Apple telling me how an algorithm worked or anything like that. But what I did have, more importantly than even having those skills, is I knew that I had a special story, that I had something special to offer this world that would only help people move the needle in their own lives. And that is my passion for showing you you can be a complete disaster. You can be a shit show. You can have ADHD. You can be someone who's divorced and broke. You can be someone who is completely disorganized. You can be someone like myself with complex PTSD that is medicated for depression and anxiety, who is a type Z personality. That's what I call myself. I'm type Z for lazy. I am not a type A personality. And you can still have all the wealth and abundance that you want in your life without having to sacrifice yourself for it. Because we've been taught all these wild things and we didn't know any better and we believed it. And quite frankly, our parents didn't know any better. As messed up as my mom is, as ill as she didn't know. She inherited those beliefs. She's also a product of her generation, a product of a school system. And she kept infusing in my head, right? You've got to give an arm and a leg if you want to be successful, especially as a woman. And you have to sacrifice. And she believed that. Therefore, I watched her. She was the primary parent that I lived with. My parents were divorced and I was 4. So, as the primary parent I lived with and observed, she was an entrepreneur. That's why I also didn't want to become one. And because she believed this, my mom literally sacrificed everything, including her only daughter, and I'm her only living relative. And we are in no contact today because she even sacrificed that. My point in sharing this is how strong our beliefs are, whether our beliefs are accurate or not. If someone believes that you did something to screw them over, it is very difficult to have them see differently. It is almost impossible. Even the most master manipulators might not even be able to change that. And if you're a stubborn ass like me, which is why I'm so well equipped to coach all of you, I am so stubborn and I'm pretty jaded growing up how I grew up. And I've been conned, bullshitted, lied to. I've had all sorts of shit happen. And I'm like, I'm a skeptic. I am not a natural optimist. So I'm saying all these things that I'm not to be self-deprecating, but because I knew there was no one speaking to these things out there. That's why it took me 10 years to start this damn podcast and this coaching academy. I had the idea, I had the name, I named it Project Me because you are the most exceptional project of your life. It all starts and ends and stems from you. And there's nothing selfish about it. In fact, it's selfish for you not to treat yourself as that important. Even if you have kids, even if you have a dying relative, you are still the most important project of your life. It's that whole oxygen mask thing. You've got to put that thing on first, because if you don't, you will die trying to help other people. And some of you almost have. I'm one of them. I thought if you really loved somebody and you really cared about people, that being self-sacrificing was noble. It is not noble. It's actually, in a sense, it's very ego-based. It's manipulative and it's actually a lie because you're really not doing anything from a space of true authenticity and true desire. I don't want anyone coming to my mastermind, listening to this podcast, sharing this podcast, being in my posse membership, coming over to my house, meeting me for a glass of wine, who genuinely doesn't want to be there. I don't teach sales in coercing and using fantasy marketing and manipulation to get you to do things, because then you end up with a bunch of shit. It never goes well. And people pleasing is a form of manipulation. And it starts with you pleasing yourself. So that ME is an acronym for most exceptional. So maybe you need to write that in your notebook right now. Maybe you need to put that as your wallpaper in your phone. My abundance card deck, my digital deck that you can get for $9.99, you can take those and put them as your wallpaper on your phone or on your laptop. A lot of people do that as well. Or you can like print them out as stickers. But I want you to remember that. Even maybe you typing or getting a journal and putting on that cover page, Project Me. What are you going to do to make this your most exceptional project of your life? And you can start over on any given day, just like any project. You don't like how your closet looks? You could prioritize right now, reorganizing your closet. You're not happy with your body. I got off course when it came to taking care of my physical health. I just did. I had a lot of internal inner child heavy shit I was processing, and I let my foot off the gas with that. Not a good plan. Guess what? I decided, okay, it was July 5th of this year, and I go, we're getting it back on track, Project Me style. And I did. And that's the beauty of it. You can start at any time. But how all this success, if we're using me as an example, that you see today and this show and how it is growing and how it's continuing to influence and help people, this show alone has made people millions and millions of dollars because I don't gatekeep over here. Now, you want to really fast track it and learn in detail from me, yeah, you got to pay my ass. Okay. That'll get you to show up and it will get you to make those moves and it will keep you accountable and you'll be managed. Your fear, your resistances will get managed so you don't stay stuck. And at the opening of the show, I said 80% of it is really in your thoughts. Because right now I could sit here and I could go on a whole thing of, oh, well, the show is top 15 in the world. That's amazing. I'm so proud of myself. Oh my God. This might not keep up. I might not be able to keep this up. This probably was just like a one-off thing. Who am I? How am I going to do this? I could go down a whole path with that and you would absolutely see the numeric evidence of it in my bank account and if we looked at rankings. But conversely, I sit here and go, hell yes, I did it, which can be very uncomfortable to celebrate yourself. If you grew up how I did, if you have a lot of conditioning, which my guess is you do, that's why you're listening to this 4-part series, where we end up talking to ourselves how other people spoke to us. A parent, it could be an ex-partner, it could be a current partner that you need to leave, it could be a toxic boss situation, it could be a teacher. Sometimes the things that stick with us, that alter our perspectives, that alter how we see things, that alter how we see the truth in the world, no matter how much supporting evidence is there saying that we're wrong, could even come from like a bully from 7th grade or a one-off comment from somebody. It can really be that powerful and stick in there. But the beautiful thing is we get that sliver, as we say in the US. I love when I like say terms that are only really used in the US. And then all my internationals are like, this is what I thought you meant. Shout out all my international listeners. Love and appreciate you guys. Example, I was bullied and I was bullied in my adulthood too. I'm still bullied sometimes. I wouldn't maybe go as far as saying bullied, but teased. Okay. For my voice. I know I have a unique tone in my voice. I pronounce certain words weird, apparently, that I'm not aware of. And I was made fun of, I would say, starting in, I would say like middle school. And now I make millions of dollars with my voice. Now I help millions of people with my voice. So I had to really sit there and go, I do have something special to offer this world. I know that this show can be big and I'm going to continue to show up until it does. And then I'll still be in the game. I'm going to continue to show up because what is my other option to not do it? So that's my first kind of nugget for you today. What are you going to regret more? Not doing the thing, not starting the podcast, not creating passive income streams, not starting your own business, not leaving the person, not changing your hair, not moving to a different city, not writing the book, not sharing your story. What are you going to regret more? Not doing it or doing the damn thing? And let's just say the damn thing you doing it is ugly and messy and painful. And I guess every worst case scenario happens. Well, at least you did it, because there's really nothing worse than living in regret. And I don't want you to live in regret. I could sit here and go, oh my God, how did I not start this? Can you imagine if I started this show when podcasts were first a thing? Oh my God, I'd be more famous than Mel Robbins at this point. But for whatever reason, in divine timing, I was supposed to start it when I started it. I couldn't have started it back then. I had a lot of inner healing to do to be able to handle the capacity of people, the capacity, I guess you could say, of exposure, of visibility, of all the mind nonsense that goes on that comes along with success, that comes along with mistakes, that comes along with fails. That I had to do a lot of my own inner work to be able to show up in the best possible version of me to help give you the best possible result. So trust that the time is now. If it wasn't now, you wouldn't be listening to this episode. You don't need any more signs. This is the sign. You've asked for enough signs. You can continue to asking for signs, but look within you. If you would regret not going for it, and that would be far more uncomfortable and painful than you just doing this damn thing messy, then you have your answer. You do the damn thing messy. You start where you're at. Look at some of the beliefs that you have. And if you're watching me on YouTube right now, there is like a weird prism lighting going on, and I don't know what's happening. And I'm trying to kind of like fix my monitor. I mean, it does make my skin look really good. So we're going to have to go with it. And yes, you can watch the show on Project Me TV on YouTube. A couple quick things. For my birthday month, September, you can get this for free. And that's my Work Less and While Making More printable workbook course. I've extended this giveaway. So I'm going to be selling this, but I've extended it because I decided to turn this into more than a workbook. It's an actual course where you're going to get videos and audios as well. You get the whole thing free. It's normally $177. We're going to be selling it for. You get it for free by leaving an Apple Podcast review of the show. Put your name or Instagram, TikTok handle in the review. Take a screenshot of it and email it to us at support@projectmewithtiffany.com. Those instructions are right in the show notes. You can swipe up. It's in the description on YouTube as well. And you want to grab this, or you can wait until we're selling it and pay for it. But this is going to be exceptional in your growth. It's going to help you really solidify these perspective shifts, these three main shifts that I'm discussing with you today, because we can't be shifting everything at once. That's not possible. And your nervous system will go into a panic. So I don't want you to do that. That's if you've not been working out at all, and then you start back up at the gym and you're doing sprints, you're doing burpees, now you're powerlifting, you're doing squats. You literally won't be able to walk for a week. And now you lose the consistency. And because it was so painful and you couldn't walk for a week, now you're dreading going back in the gym, and you just set yourself back further. Or worse, you injure yourself and now you have a real problem. So we're not about that life. I know you want to go from where you're at now to having this freedom cash, to having this freedom lifestyle, to having all these excess funds in your bank to do whatever the hell it is you want to do without depending on any person, place, thing, job, or institution ever again for money. And I get how bad you want it because I was there, but you've got to trust in my process of me taking you in stages and steps. And I say this whether you are working with me privately in my 2-month exclusive business coaching program, and that's like my highest level, or you're coming to my 2-day in-person business mastermind event. There is literally one ticket left. That is it. It's next week. It's the 19th and 20th of September. This is your last chance to make the move, period. End of story. The registration link, you can swipe up. All this stuff is inside the show notes. If you have any questions, you can email me, email the team. You can DM me on Instagram. That will be your best investment that you can make in moving the needle in your life, period. I would put it in a top, because who knows what else you could do in your life. I'd put it in a top 3, like it'll be notable. And there's many people who've attended who say that. We get shit done, but we luxuriate and have fun doing it while working through and reprogramming the money noise in your mind. So it's not like you just get a temporary high like some of these events, which there's nothing wrong with that. Some of those events are just meant to be motivational. No. We get shit done. You're learning it in real time with me and my team, and it's incredible. So you can get that in there. And I have created a birthday bonus sale inside my Project Me Posse business coaching membership. It's $3.33 a day. There's a month-to-month option because I know some of you don't want long-term contracts because maybe you've been screwed over by other coaches or things before. So you kind of want to test it out. So it's month to month, but very few people ever leave. If they leave, it's because they're graduating to another level program of mine. We have people that have been in there for 3.5 years. There's also an annual option, and that's the best savings. And I highly recommend it because now it makes you like show up, right? Like, what's going to make you show up more? Paying $100 a month or doing a year in advance? It's like 900 and something. I know what will make me show up because I don't want to waste money. And you get my $297 content creation made easy course bundle for free as a new member when you join today. If there's no spots left in the posse, the page will say that when you go to it, projectmewithtiffany.com/Project Me Posse, also in the show notes. Okay. Wow. I don't know what's going on with this video, but hopefully those of you on YouTube are getting a vibe. It's almost like there's like a rainbow effect on me. It's really strange, but we're going to go with it. I digress. Let's start shifting here. This unconventional perspective shift is one that you're going to have to maybe con yourself a little bit into. You're already conning yourself of why you can't do all the things, why it won't work. Well, it'll be a waste of time. It'll be a waste of money. I won't get my money back. I could lose this. I could lose that. This might not work. You're already doing a con job on yourself. You might as well at least experiment doing a con job in a way that serves you and will invite in money and success. That's the good news. You already have evidence of the mental manipulation that you do on yourself, how that works. Every single person on this earth, even the most competent people I've coached, in some area of their life, they have mental manipulation going on about they're not attractive enough to get their soulmate partner. They aren't smart enough to write a book. They aren't this, they aren't that. So we might as well do mental manipulation that serves us. So instead of focusing on the lack, I want you to focus on the possibility, because it probably is too far of a stretch to go from I'm not smart enough to, I don't know, write a book. Let's just say that's the example. FMA from my ass examples. And you can really go down the rabbit hole with that, which I have. I use myself as an example often. How can I expect you guys to be vulnerable with me if I'm not vulnerable first? And I could go, I'm not book smart. I'm not good at grammar. I'm not super focused. How the hell am I going to write all this? It sounds like a lot of work. Blah, 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 blah. Or I could sit here and go, not to the point of I'm super book smart and I'm great at grammar, because that's a fucking lie and it doesn't work. But I could focus on the possibility. Why can't I be the person who writes a book that just writes how I talk? And there isn't any flowery language. And I just hire a great proofreader, someone who loves doing that shit. And they fix that part for me. And all I have to do is simply write how I talk. And that maybe because of doing that, people will relate more because I'm writing in layman's terms. I'm not writing in some fancy language. Do you see how I did the possibility? So let's say it's possibility around you growing your business and getting more clients, getting more customers buying your things, and you feel like you've tried all the things and nothing is working. It seems like it's working for everyone else and not you. And you have something great to offer, but you can't seem to get enough people to sign up for your stuff. And you're so focused on that. I can't seem to get enough people. I have a numbers problem. Yeah, I can get some one-off clients here and there, but I don't have my programs filled with all these people. I don't have people coming from all over the world to a mastermind like you, Tiffany. I don't have all these people in my membership, or I don't have all these people buying from my store. Yep, we can continue to focus on that, but whatever we focus on, it grows. It just magnifies. It's like a fungus, man. You keep feeding a fungus, that thing's going to grow. We need to kill that off. And the best way to kill that off is focus on possibility. I see what's possible for me. And I did this when I first started in this online space. I already had many years of experience as a successful entrepreneur and an 8-figure business, but that was built totally different. That was built offline, the hard way, the pain in the ass way, like blood, sweat, and tears way. I was not familiar and experienced at that time with how to do a podcast, how to build an email list. That wasn't my vibe. That wasn't my thing. I did understand like Facebook ads and stuff like that because we did those with my agency for clients, but there was a lot I didn't know. But what was I going to focus on? What I didn't know. Instead, I looked at other people and went, listen, if it's possible for them to do it, it's possible for me to do it. And what is in your way of making it possible? So ask yourself that. I'm seeing it's possible. I see it in Tiffany. I see it in so and so. I see it in my uncle. I see it in my friend from college. I do see it. What's standing in my way of it being possible? What belief is standing in your way? So answer that for yourself, whether it's right now or later. You likely won't do it later. I'd rather you do it now. And what would help me really sink into the belief more that it's possible? Look for things that'll help you believe it's more possible. So for me, before I started doing, in-person mastermind events for my own brand, that terrified me. Okay. Like I'm talking terrified. I was so afraid. I was like, people are going to actually show up and fly and drive to show up for me. I mean, I was just terrified of it. So what did I do? I signed up for masterminds myself as a participant to see how it worked, to get myself immersed in it, to see the possibility. So what are actions you can take? If you want a membership or a subscription-based model for your own business, you would be nuts to not join the posse. This Friday, in a couple of days, I'm literally teaching that live in the posse of how to add a subscription service, a membership model into your business, no matter what size it is. So join one. That'll show you it's possible. On top of it, you get to learn how. So what's an action that you can take? Is it reading an autobiography from somebody? Is it following certain people on Instagram or TikTok? Is it watching a documentary on someone who's doing what you've done? That's why people love these stories, because in the stories, we can sometimes see ourselves in someone's story. And if it's possible for Tiffany, who's a fucking disaster, truly, she's a disaster. Yeah, she's smart. She's good at talking. You know, she shows up regardless whether she feels like it or not. But it's not like this girl does not totally have her shit together and she's doing it. So at least I can do it. Right. And that's part of what moves me to show up. The second shift is wealth comes from true wealth that you make. It comes from creating value for others. It comes from helping others solve a problem. It comes from bringing joy to others, entertainment to others. It helps them lower their stress in their life. It helps them feel better about themselves. So I need you to focus on shifting from what you can get and what you want to get to giving. When you focus on giving, when you focus on being of service, the abundance always comes. This is why I say to you guys, if you want reviews for your products, if you want testimonials for your business, if you want podcast reviews, when was the last time you did that for other people? You know, I have a list of a few reviews that I will put in my notes app. And every month I make a point of a restaurant I've been to, a hotel I stayed at, a podcast I've listened to that I really enjoyed, or a book I've read that I need to write a review for. And it feels so good to do it. And that's that law of reciprocity. But you can't just give to get. It can't, and it's got to be for fun or for free. It can't be, oh, I'm going to do this in order to get this. I'm going to create this freebie in order to get. So with my generous free thing I'm offering, right? My work less while making more printable workbook course. And I'm saying you can get this by leaving the Apple podcast review, right? Yes, I knew intentionally that by me being that incredibly generous, yes, people would be crazy to not leave a review, all right, in order to get it. Like that would be insane. And so, yes, I was giving with the intention of knowing there's a high likelihood that there would be a certain percentage of people motivated or more motivated to take the 30 seconds to write a review. But I also didn't have an attachment to what I was going to get. My attachment was to what I was going to give. I know how powerful this is, and I know how good it feels to be abundant and be of service and to give. And if it ended up that only, 5 people wrote a review, then so be it. I welcomed much, much more, but so be it. I wasn't attached to what I was going to get in return. So let's say you are putting out like an event or a course or some kind of a program, and you're sitting there going, I really need to get, at least, 15 people signing up, Tiffany. I'm going to have to go and get a jobby job if that doesn't happen. I put in all this effort. I need to get. That's all in ego. And believe me, I can slip into that too. We're only human beings. But I need you to focus on what you are going to be giving in that program, in that service that you're providing, in that course, in that piece of jewelry, in that book, in that podcast episode. Focus on giving and what is that going to do for your ideal client, and conveying that over and over again with that genuineness. And then you have to trust that you will receive in return, not necessarily in your own timing. When I started my membership, I think like when I first opened my Posse membership, I think I had like 17 paid members. That's it. But I knew it would grow because I knew I was going to continue to show up. You have to be in it for the long term. It can't just be for the immediate. Because if you practice this and you're like, but I was totally detached the outcome and the people still didn't sign up, Tiffany. If you were really detached to the outcome, truly, truly detached, then you wouldn't be so upset that the people didn't show up. You would then look at it like it would be more so like it's interesting. Why didn't it yield these results? Was there something that was missing? Was there something in my energy? Is there something strategic and tangible? Have I been toe dipping in my business and trying to reverse engineer other people's stuff and YouTubing stuff? Which there's nothing wrong with that when you start, but when you really want to make like true passive income, true legit active income cash, like baller cash, you really want to do it, you can't be doing these half-ass cheap moves. I'm not saying just to throw money at anything. You want to be intentional with it, but you've got to also be honest with yourself. So what energy are you in? If you're in a I need to get married by the time I'm 30. I need to get this certain body so I can then be blank. You set off a certain energy in the world, and it's not attractive. It's not a abundance igniting energy. An abundance igniting energy is from a space of lightness, a space of giving and trusting that you shall receive in divine timing. All right. The third shift to focus on. And let me know if you're loving the series, and I welcome you to share with me any topic suggestions, any struggles you're going through, any mindset beliefs, money blocks that you feel you're having that you would love for me to do an episode on. The best way is to DM me on Instagram at Project Me with Tiffany. I would say that's the absolute best way to let us know. You can also reply to any of our emails if you're on my email list. If you're not, you need to be. It's my Secret Posse Weekly Digest. That's free. That's also in the show notes. There's so many free resources that I offer, and I want to, and I delight in them. And I don't have any resentment if you're not buying from me. In fact, I more so have a concern at a certain point. If you've been consuming my free content for a long time and you've not invested in working with me, it genuinely would be a concern. Like, why haven't you taken that next step for yourself? Why are you hiding behind all this learning and all this other stuff and not really going for it? Okay, the third shift. I call this fear shifting. This really deserves its own episode. But this is part 4, so we're going to go with it. Every experience is happening to serve you or the greater good. I'm going to say it again. Every experience is happening to serve you or the greater good. Whether it is you broke your leg, whether it is on a flight that I had that I literally ran through the airport like at a sprint, and I do not sprint, to the point where my lungs hurt. I literally made the flight like by seconds because I was waiting like at international, like when you come into customs, you have to then recheck your bag. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. You have to recheck your bag, and it was taking forever. I at first was sitting there going, oh my God, I'm watching all these people miss their connecting flight. I'm going to miss my flight. This is bullshit. I can't believe the airline would do this. Why wouldn't they prioritize getting this baggage out? They know majority of the people on the flight have a connecting flight. That's terrible. And then I said, hold on. Is that the energy and that frequency? Is that going to help me make this flight? No, it's not. So ask yourself the question, is my current energy, is that frequency I'm on, that channel I'm on? Just picture like old school radio station, that frequency I'm on, is that going to get me the result I want? No. Then we got to consciously change the damn channel. You might have to do it 10 times a day. Change the channel. Just like if you're flipping through TV stations and you're like, this is lame, that's a commercial, I don't want this, you keep flipping until you find something that resonates. That's what you've got to do with your own brain. And I went, you know what? This is happening for some reason to serve me or my greater good. I trust that if I'm supposed to miss this flight, there is a reason why I'm supposed to miss the flight. God forbid, maybe there's an issue with the flight. Maybe I would end up in a car accident because of the timing when I landed. If I made that flight, whatever it might be, I might meet somebody that I wasn't expecting to meet, or sit next to somebody on this new flight that I wouldn't have otherwise. So I'm going to choose to trust that whatever happens is here to serve my greater good or the greater good at all. Because sometimes it's like when we've gone through heavy shit, okay? Like those of you who are survivors of trauma, abuse, have gone through some heavy, horrible shit in your life. It can be very understandably easy to go, well, how is that to serve me? How did all my childhood sexual abuse, like, I mean, literally from ages 11 to 21, like how did that serve me? It served the greater good. I'm not like wishing that on my inner child. I'm not wishing that for anyone else, but for whatever reason, the universe, God, I'm here on a greater mission. And for whatever reason, this was part of my mission, because when how they say, when hurt people hurt others. Well, I say when people heal, they heal millions. And I knew that going through all those years of therapy and outpatient and all sorts of shit. I knew that it was all going to be worth it because I could help so many other people heal. And I was given a certain type of skill set that matched being able to have a podcast, to have a bigger platform someday. And because I've done all of this healing work, I can speak about topics and hold space for people about topics and things that most people run away from, avoid, dissociate from. And I can just go right in there. And there needs to be more people like that. And you're no different. I have a client who horribly lost their son. I hope she's listening. And she came to me because she knew her son, as terrible as that was, it was happening. There's a greater good happening here. And she created a brand all around spiritual grieving, right? Looking at a bigger picture, helping people navigate grief in a very different way. And she's going to write a book. And that doesn't take away the pain from the thing, but she chose to look at it like that. And really, it makes sense when I started coaching her and her skill set. And she naturally was a good writer. This wasn't someone, got all A's or anything, but just had a natural knack for it. It wasn't just a coincidence. She was given that skill set. She was given that gift because it was for the greater good of all, no matter how annoying the failure is, no matter how big the trauma is. There is a reason for it. And when you remind yourself and you change that perspective that this actually happened to serve me for the greater good, or, if it happened, like me missing the flight, right? If it happened when I, from the last part 1, 2, and 3, I was sick. I'm like at the tail end of it now, but I could have sat there. I can't believe I got sick. I almost had to cancel my birthday trip, blah, 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 blah. But I got to a place because I didn't want to be on that channel and that frequency because that wasn't going to help me get better. That was only going to stress my system out more, which would lower my immune system more, which would take longer for me to heal. So instead, I consciously practice what I teach you here when it comes to healing. Do you think that you have a better odds of getting better, whether it's from cancer or a cold, by sitting there focusing on how shitty you feel and how unfair it is and how you're missing out on all of these things? Or do you think you have a better chance of getting better faster or getting over it by focusing and leaning into I am trusting that this is here to serve me. Maybe I'm supposed to be quiet and in having reflective time right now. Maybe the universe is forcing me to rest because I wouldn't rest on my own. Maybe you don't know what the reason is, but you're trusting it is for some kind of a greater good. When you are looking at investing in things for your life, for your business, whether it's with me or with something else, and you're going, but I don't want to waste my money. What if it's a waste of money? What if I don't get a return on investment? What if it doesn't work? Do you think you focusing on all those what ifs is getting you closer to the wealth that you want to create? No. So don't you think it'd be a better perspective shift to look at the cost factor, to look at the other side of the possibility of you taking the action, of you investing the time, of you investing the energy, of you investing your heart, of you investing your money, and what that's going to get you closer to achieving the thing, to making the thing happen. And yeah, things might not work on your exact time in your exact way. And not every single thing pays off. And not everything I touch turns to gold. Of course not. It doesn't happen that way for anybody. I don't care how smart you are, how well connected you are, what family you're from, what privilege you have. It doesn't matter. Do you think these major professional athletes, what do you think is going to be more likely for them to win a game? Is it going into a game going, oh my God, we're playing against this team and we've only won against this team 13% of the time before, so the chances aren't there. And what if I get injured? And what if? And then it translates into action because then they show up in that energy. They're not as loose. They're not as on it. They're in their head. They're off their game. They can even end up getting injured because of that. And now it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Which frequency channel is more likely for them to win the game? This is why all these professional athletes and people who make money on doing various things have coaches for the mind. This is why I have 2 to 3 coaches at any given time to help me manage the mind, because 80% of your wealth is made from the brain. Truly, I can teach you the 20% of the actual steps, and I can coach you through the 80% of the brain, but you've got to be a willing participant in doing the stuff, since I'm not sitting there on your shoulder 24/7. I mean, you could, I guess, listen to this podcast on repeat, which I would suggest, because you'll start hearing my voice in your head, which is helpful to replace the voice in your head that might be a little damaged, that might be off, that has faulty programming. It'll help you reprogram the stuff. But how about we go into the game of business, the game of relationships, the game of great health, the game of life? How about we go into it going, you know what? I am going to win. Yeah, there's going to be some games I lose. There's going to be some bruises. There might even be a broken bone along the way. There might even be a major ego blow. But I know overall I'm going to win because I'm going to show up in that frequency. And when you show up in that frequency with that determination and that resilience, you inevitably are the person that wins, without a doubt. Because of how you carry yourself, you push a little bit harder, you give a little bit more, you're a little lighter on your feet, your cortisol stress level is lower, which allows you to think more creatively and think bigger. You end up being more attractive to certain people, and then you get opportunities and offers and meet people for collaborations that help propel you along the way. You're also more open to receiving wisdom from people who've paved a path before you, so you're able to take it in. So just imagine yourself right now, before you get off on this podcast, you're taking an old-fashioned radio in any car of your choice. Maybe you're in a Jeep, an open air Jeep, and you're turning that dial, and you're just turning it just right so it hits the frequency on that jam that you're like, oh, hell yeah, I haven't heard that in years. This was my song. This was it, man. You know, it's how I feel when I get on like a solid like 90s throwback that I forgot about. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. I remember this and I know all the words. It feels so good. Close your eyes and take a few seconds and just tune back into that frequency. Which frequency, what actions, what thinking, what beliefs are going to get me on that energy level that are going to stack the odds in my favor of this wealth happening, this success happening, this love, this support, this thing happening. And yeah, you're going to have to fix that dial, fix that antenna. You might have to do it 10 times a day to start, and then it will get easier and easier and easier. But it's all worth it. This is all here for you. No matter where you're from, what your age is, your background, your intellect. You've got to have the belief that it's possible. You've got to have the desire. You've got to have the resilience, and you've got to have the willingness to learn and invest your time, energy, and money in showing up for yourself and the greater good and the life that you want. Wishing you great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you. And don't forget to leave that Apple podcast review so you can get my Work Less While Making More printable workbook course, birthday bonus sale inside the Project Me Posse business coaching membership. You can go to the show notes, swipe up, go into the description here on YouTube, and you will see all the things. And there's one ticket left to my in-person mastermind event. This is the last chance to work with me at this level for a long time. So grab that ticket if you're feeling that is going to put you on that frequency of making this happen. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired where you're at, take a big action to propel you big time into where you want to go.